Here is my spoiler-free review of Night Swim. Lame as fuck. Thank you. Now here is my full-length review that probably is going to contain spoilers. I went into this movie with super low expectations because I haven't seen much hype about it, and anything that I have seen about it is generally negative. So I went in with low expectations as to not be disappointed, and I was still disappointed. Now, first things first, I had a pretty bad theater experience with this, which just set the tone to be bad. I will explain that at the end if you want to hear it. This movie was so incredibly predictable, and it was just so basic. Like, it is your quintessential story of the husband becoming possessed by the new house and then trying to kill his whole family, but instead of the house, they tried to make it different with the pool, and it just didn't work. And again, predictable as fuck. I knew probably less than midway through this movie that the husband was going to get possessed and attack the family, and that at the end he was going to end up sacrificing himself and everybody else was going to live. And that's exactly what fucking happened. All the jump scares were also super predictable. Like, there was no build up, there was no fake outs. The first glimpse that we get of the demon or the creature in this movie was pretty good, but everything after that looked like crappy CGI that a child made. Actually, that's insulting. A child probably could have done a better job. There was a big opportunity here with the whole pool story because like dark water and shit, that freaks me out, but I feel like they completely missed the mark. I did not like the storyline that they came up with at all. The whole like baseball subplot also felt really random. Like, I feel like everything was just really disconnected. Overall, I just feel like this movie was super bland. It wasn't terrible. It definitely wasn't good. It's kind of just like middle of the road. I actually feel the same way about this movie as I did about The Boogeyman from last year. Like, I was so looking forward to that movie and then saw it and it was just there. Like, again, I didn't dislike it or like it. And a year later, I can't remember a fucking thing about it. So I guarantee you a year from now, that's going to be the same exact case with this movie. Overall, I give this movie like a 4.5 out of 10. I am completely not impressed. But the good news is that this is the first major horror movie of 2024, so we can only go up from here, right? Now my theater experience, and part of this is just to vent because I actually have never experienced something like this before in my life. I get to the theater and now, since COVID, you choose your seats when you buy your ticket. I always choose the back row. 1, because nobody can put their feet on those chairs, and 2, so nobody can come up behind me and murder me. So I get in the theater, I go up to the back row where my seat is, and there is this woman and probably 6 or 7 or 8 kids. I'm not even exaggerating. And all these kids, I would say, are between ages 5 and 9. Now that part isn't even what threw me off, because my parents have been taking me to the theater to see horror movies since I was 5, so that wasn't weird. However, these kids are so rowdy. They have these blinking lights. I don't even know where the fuck they got these from. And they're sitting in my seat. It looks like they're there for some sort of event or some different movie. So I actually asked the woman with them, I was like, do you know what theater this is? Literally thinking I walked into the wrong theater. And she's like, oh, something swim. She clearly has no idea what this movie is. So I was just like, okay, that's what I thought. This is actually my seat, but I'll just go sit somewhere else. Don't worry. I don't give a fuck about the seats, but I don't then want to just go sit in another seat and have it be somebody else's, but whatever. I don't want to sit near these rowdy ass kids anyway. So I'm like, you know what? I'll move. I'll go somewhere else. So I go to the front of the theater, which I never sit in the front of the theater, but I want to be as far away from them as possible because again, they're literally yelling. So okay, the previews start, which I like watching the previews. These kids are still screaming. So I'm like, okay, maybe she'll reel them in when it comes time for the actual movie to start. Nope. So the movie opens up, and if you've seen this, the opening scene is this little girl falling into the pool and being pulled under and drowning. You can clearly tell it's a horror movie. There's a creepy figure. So that happens and the title cards show up. Now, when the title card shows up and the music is lower, these kids are crying in the back row, screaming. And they all very loudly pick up their shit and storm out of the theater, angry that it's a horror movie. And I know that because I can hear the woman being like, oh, it's a horror movie. And all the kids are like, we have to leave. It's a horror movie. Everybody's screaming, dropping shit, running. I'm not one to judge. I don't have children. But how do you take 8 little children into a movie theater without knowing what the fuck the movie's about? Luckily, after they left, it was a lot better, but that first 10 to 15 minutes was super stressful. I almost actually walked out myself. I still probably wouldn't have liked this movie even if that didn't happen, but that definitely did not help the situation.